Joining us now is Congressman Ted Poe, Republican from Texas, representing that state's 2nd District. And Congressman Poe, thank you so much for joining us again here on Newsmax TV.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Well, emails released by the House Energy and Commerce Committee show President Obama's aides pushed White House budget officials to review a $535 million U.S. loan guarantee to the now bankrupt solar company Solyndra, despite concerns voiced by analysts of big risks involved. Now, taxpayers are on the hook for that $535 million in stimulus money. Congressman Poe, are taxpayers right to be outraged here?
Of course they are. This looks and smells like old-fashioned Chicago cronyism, that a loan is given to an organization that mysteriously gives a lot of campaign contributions to the administration. And it's a special deal that the taxpayers are on the hook for the loan guarantee. And it's wrong, I think, to come across any politician of paying your friends' businesses, and all of a sudden you get campaign contributions from them.
Now, are there any indications that this rises to the level of malfeasance or fraud?
Well, we don't know yet. They're still under investigation by the FBI. But to the casual observer, it doesn't pass the smell test. It looks like what it looks like, that this so-called green energy company that's now defunct got a loan, and then the person that runs this green energy company is out raising money for the administration. It doesn't pass the smell test. Regardless of party affiliation, people in the United States don't like the concept of pay to play.
This is being investigated by the House Energy Committee. You sit on the Judiciary Committee. Can we expect any action on this by the Judiciary Committee at all, or perhaps an investigation into what happened behind White House doors?
Of course, the Judiciary Committee has jurisdiction over this. We probably will wait till the Energy and Commerce Committee finishes their hearings, and we will take it up after that if we do.
All right. President Obama is traveling the country trying to sell his jobs plan. There are some parts of the plan that Republicans say they actually like and would consider passing in piecemeal. But the rest of it, in your view, is it nothing more than stimulus 2.0?
Well, yes, it's junior stimulus. The first one was $870 billion. This one's $475 billion. The first stimulus bill did not work, did not help the economy, didn't save us all like the president promised that it would. And so the administration's way of proving failure is to do it again and make sure that it really doesn't work. So the idea that you're going to have the government control more money by raising taxes and spending it the way the government sees it as to the idea to raise jobs will not work. Raising taxes is not good for the economy. The problem is not revenue, the problem is spending. And so junior stimulus is a disaster except for one idea: lowering the corporate income tax. No question about it. We have the highest corporate income tax in the world. We need to lower it down to 25 or even less, so that automatically, overnight, that will create more jobs, because businesses will have more of their own money to keep instead of giving it to Uncle Sam.
Now, this, you would say, is a further waste of $500 billion of taxpayers' dollars, correct?
Well, yes, it's a waste, plus it won't work. So it's two failures wrapped into one.
Now, a Reuters poll Wednesday found that a growing number of economists, 31% of those surveyed, believe that the U.S. will lapse into another recession in the next year. Is President Obama driving the U.S. economic train off the tracks?
He has been driving it off the tracks since he took office, and here's the reason why. His concept of the economy is not a sound philosophy. His idea is that the government should control every aspect of not only our lives, but of the business community, of the banks, through regulations and more Washington control. That centralist, the concept of the 5-year plan, the old really Soviet idea of the government controlling the economy, seems to be what he's doing. And just like in the Soviet Union, it has not worked, and it has created economic uncertainty. People who have money are not spending it because nobody knows what's going to happen next. So the economy is certainly not better than it was when he took office. He's made really a bad economy even worse with his policies.
Representative Poe, what can you tell us about the American Land Act that you introduced that would earn the U.S. almost $200 billion in revenue, and what kind of support are you getting for this?
The revenue in Washington means always taxation. We don't need any more taxes, but one way we can get more revenue is for Uncle Sam to sell some of the land that Uncle Sam owns. The federal government owns 27% of the land mass in the United States. That's equivalent to most of Western Europe. Uncle Sam doesn't need all that land. So I propose in the American Land Act that the Bureau of Land Management sell portions of that unused land to Americans and allow them to develop that land. First you get the revenue from the sale, and then you get more revenue from taxation on that land. Over half the land in the West is owned by the federal government. It's time for the federal government to let Americans own America, bring in some revenue to the federal treasury.
Now, last night we saw Republicans win 2 special elections, including the one in New York where Anthony Weiner's old seat, which historically goes to the Democrats, actually went for the GOP. Is this a rejection of Obama's presidency and policies and a valid referendum for the 2012 election?
To some extent it is, but I think there's a couple of other issues because of this district. It's predominantly an Orthodox Jewish community, and the Democrat that was in the assembly had made 2 bad votes. He had voted for gay marriage, and he had voted for the Ground Zero Memorial, or at the Ground Zero Memorial, to allow a Muslim mosque. Those 2 things did not play well in this particular district. And you add that with the president's anti-Israel policy that he has promoted, and then the economy, and of course that led to the Republican victory. So I think it's more than just President Obama. It's actually something that pertains specifically to that area of the United States.
Now, I understand that you're a member of the Israel Allies Caucus and you sit on the House's Foreign Affairs Committee. What is your take on President Obama's position regarding efforts to grant the Palestinian statehood at the United Nations?
The administration now has come late to the table saying that they will vote against it in the United Nations. It's too late. It seems like it's already a done deal where most of the countries are going to vote for Palestinian statehood. That's a bad move for Israel. It's a bad move for the United States. We weren't vocal enough when this issue started coming up. I think that we should, as a nation, not continue to fund the United Nations organizations, specific organizations and specific states that allow and vote for Palestinian statehood. We don't have to pay these countries to vote against us in the UN. They'll do it for free. So the president finally made a statement. It's not strong enough. It's too late. It shows, though, that Israel cannot really trust us when it comes to Israeli-United States sovereignty or unity.
Last question real quickly. Getting back to the New York win, does this win energize the GOP to a degree, and what kind of bellwether is this for 2012?
Yes, it does energize the GOP across the country as far as I'm concerned. It is a referendum on what's taking place in the United States. It shows that people are involved in their own congressional districts, and I think it will play out in the elections next year for various reasons, because the president has got us on this freight train that's headed off a cliff, and people see that across the country, bipartisan, and I think it will affect the congressional elections, and it'll affect the election for president.
Representative Ted Poe, Republican from Texas, thank you.
Thanks.